and welcome to Kiki Crochet. In this video tutorial, we're going to learn how to crochet step by step this beautiful twisted headband. This is a very easy project, it's suitable even for beginners. In the beginning of the video, as always, I have the chart with all the chains needed and the total centimeters for each size. The rule for this pattern is multiples of 2 plus 4. And the repeating rows are row 2 through row 5 are my repeating rows for the pattern. I used about one skein of yarn of size 3, we're going to see it in a little bit, which is about 3.53 ounces. Okay, so now let's see the material that we're going to use and how to start. Before we start, let's see the material that we're going to use for a twisted headband. I'm crocheting with Crochet DK, which is a size 3 DK yarn, which is 75% acrylic and 25% wool. And I'm going to use a 4.5mm crochet hook. So now let's see how to start. I have already started with my chain, and because we're crocheting for women's size, I have started with 24 chains. Okay, so now depending on the size that you're crocheting, I have on the chart in the beginning of the video the number of chains that you're going to need. From those chains, in row number 1, because we're starting with single crochet, you're going to have 1 stitch less. So from the 24 chains that I have, in row number 1, I'm going to have a total of 23 single crochet. So I'm going to skip the first chain, and I'm going to put my hook in the second one, and I'm going to work my first single crochet. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So keep crocheting 1 single crochet in every chain up until the end for a total of 23 single crochet. I have completed row number 1 with a total of 23 single crochet. Now we're going to start row number 2, which is the first row of repetitions. I'm going to start by chaining 1, and I'm going to turn my work. Okay, now in the first stitch I'm going to work 1 single crochet. In the second stitch I'm going to work the raspberry stitch. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my hook in the stitch, grab the yarn and pull it through the stitch. Now instead of working a single crochet, what I'm going to do is I'm going to work 2 chains in this first loop over here. So 1, grab the yarn, pull through the first loop again for a second chain. Okay, now I'm going to grab the yarn and pull it through both loops, so this counts as a single crochet. Now in the next stitch I'm going to work 1 single crochet. And see, by working the 2 chains before performing the single crochet, how it looks like a seed over here. It's like a little raspberry. Okay, so in the next stitch again we're going to do the raspberry stitch. So put your hook in the stitch, grab the yarn and pull it through, and now work 2 chains. 1, 2. Grab the yarn, pull through both loops, and in the next stitch work 1 single crochet. Okay, now in the next stitch again we're going to work the raspberry stitch. So put your hook in the stitch, grab the yarn, pull it through, and work the 2 chains. 1, 2. Grab the yarn, pull through both loops, and on the next stitch we're going to work 1 single crochet. So see how nice it looks? So let's do it together one more time, and then we're going to finish the row off camera. So in the next stitch we're going to work 1 raspberry stitch. So work our 2 chains, 1 and 2. Now grab the yarn and pull it through both loops. In the next stitch we're working 1 single crochet. So keep working in the same exact way, 1 raspberry stitch and 1 single crochet up until the end, where the last 2 stitches are going to be 1 raspberry stitch, and the last stitch of the row is going to be a single crochet. I have completed crocheting row number 2, and this is how it looks like at this point. Okay, and the rows that we're going to be working the raspberry stitch is going to be the good side of our work. The rows that we're only going to be working single crochet, which is the row that we're going to start now, it's going to be the wrong side of our project. So after we're finished with row number 2, we're going to chain 1 and turn our work. So starting from the first stitch, work 1 single crochet, 1 single crochet in the next stitch, which is the raspberry stitch. And now every time that we're crocheting in the raspberry stitch, I want to make sure that in this stitch I want to be putting my hook on the top left over here, so I'm grabbing the last 2 loops that I crocheted together. Do not put your hook in the center or down right, because you're going to grab those chains that form the raspberry stitch and the design on the front is going to be messed up. So make sure, see here that we have the raspberry stitch, make sure you're grabbing the top left. Okay, so I have my first single crochet on top of the single crochet, second stitch on the raspberry stitch, my third stitch on the single crochet, my fourth stitch on the raspberry stitch, fifth stitch on the single crochet, sixth stitch on the raspberry stitch, and see how it looks as if you're supposed to put your hook here, but if you put it here, you're going to grab the chains. So make sure you open up the stitch and you put it on the top left right here. Okay, so keep crocheting 1 single crochet in every stitch up until the last stitch of the row, where we're going to have a total of 23 single crochet. I have completed crocheting row number 3, which is the wrong side of my project, with a total of 23 single crochet. Now we're going to start row number 4, which is the 3rd row of repetitions. So I'm going to chain 1 and turn my work. So what we want to do now in this row, we want the raspberry stitches to fall in between the raspberry stitches of the previous row. So instead of starting with 1 single crochet in the first stitch, we're going to work 1 single crochet in the first 2 stitches of the row. So 1 single crochet in the first stitch, 1 single crochet in the second stitch, and from here on I'm repeating again 1 raspberry stitch, 1 single crochet, 1 raspberry stitch, 1 single crochet. So in the next stitch we're working a raspberry stitch. So in this first loop over here, we're going to work 2 chains again. 1, 2. Now grab the yarn and pull it through both loops, and in the next stitch work 1 single crochet. Again, in the next stitch we're going to work our raspberry stitch, So work the 2 chains on the first loop, grab the yarn, pull through both loops, and work 1 single crochet in the next stitch. So see how the raspberry stitch of this row is falling in between right here the raspberry stitches of the previous row. Same thing here, in between the 2 raspberry stitches of the previous row. So we keep repeating the same steps up until you reach the end, where the 4th stitch from the end is going to be a single crochet. 3rd stitch from the end, we're going to have the raspberry stitch, and the last 2 stitches of the row are going to be 1 single crochet in each of those 2 last stitches of the row. Okay, so we want the end of the row to be the same as the beginning. We started with 2 single crochet and a raspberry stitch, and we're going to finish with a raspberry stitch and 2 single crochet in the end. I have completed working row number 4, and this is how my project looks like at this point. What a nice texture the raspberry stitch gives in our headband. Now, we're going to start row number 5, which is the 4th and last row of repetitions. So chain 1 and turn your work. Now we're going to start by working 1 single crochet in the first 2 single crochet, 1 single crochet on the raspberry stitch. Again, we're putting our hook on the top left of the stitch, 1 single crochet on the single crochet, 1 single crochet on the raspberry stitch, 1 single crochet on the single crochet, 1 single crochet on the raspberry stitch. So because this is the wrong side of our project, we work 1 single crochet in every stitch across for a total of 23 single crochet. I have completed crocheting row number 5, which was my last row of repetitions, and it's the wrong side of my project. Now we're going to start the repetitions all over again. So I'm going to chain 1 and I'm going to turn my work. So what did I do in the second row of my project? I started with 1 single crochet in the first stitch, and in the second stitch I worked my raspberry stitch. So I'm working 2 chains in this first loop, closing together those 2 loops, and 1 single crochet in the next stitch. Okay, so the raspberry stitch from this row is aligning with the one in the second row of my project. So now we're doing the repetitions all over again, and I'm going to keep repeating row 2 through row 5 up until the total length of this piece over here is a total of 48 centimeters. And I want the total length, those 48 centimeters, it's 6 centimeters less than my head circumference. So my head circumference is 54 centimeters, subtract 6 centimeters, so we want the total length to be a total of 48 centimeters. Once I complete crocheting my 48 centimeters, I'm going to turn my video back on to see how to join to form the twisted headband. Now, what's important is that in the last rows, you do not have to repeat the steps, the total, total of 4 rows. If the 48 centimeters are, let's say, when you're doing the repetitions of row number 2, that's okay. What's important is that in the last row, I want the last row of my project to be on the wrong side of the work. So I have 1 single crochet in every stitch, so it's easier for me to join in the end, okay? So it's really not important in which row of the repetitions you're going to finish your total centimeters. Just make sure that you work then 1 row of single crochet in the wrong side. So I'm going to keep working for a total of 48 centimeters, then I'm going to turn my video back on to see how to continue. I have completed crocheting my 48 centimeters. So what I'm going to do now, I have worked 1 last row of single crochet in the wrong side. I'm going to chain 1, cut a pretty long tail over here, pretty long piece of yarn, and fasten off. Now this yarn, we're going to use it to sew our headband together. And let's see what we have. Now the raspberry stitch gives a very nice delicate result on our headband. See how nice it looks. And I have a width of about 16 centimeters. Okay, and the total length that I needed was 48 centimeters. Okay, now we're going to see how to join our headband, and the method that we're going to use to join it, you can use it with any headband that you're going to make with any stitch that you like. Just have the correct width, which we want it to be around 15 to 16 centimeters width if you're crocheting a women's size. The correct length that you need, which is about 48 centimeters, and you can pick any stitch that you like to make this headband. So now we're going to start joining, and what I want to be looking at is the good side of my project, and I can tell because I have the raspberry stitch, and I want the yarn to be on the top right. Okay, I'm going to fold my headband in half, okay, like this. So now I'm seeing the wrong side on the front and the wrong side in the back. Now open up your headband like this and make sure the last half of the back side is overlapping with the first half of the front side. Once we do that, pick up your headband and fold the right piece that's hanging out, fold it inwards to make a sandwich. okay? And I want to make sure when I fold in half, I want to make sure that the front piece is in the same exact spot with the back piece over here. If they're not, just correct the pieces real quick, okay? And the left piece that's hanging out, fold that piece inwards as well. So we have a sandwich over here, okay? What's very important is that every piece needs to be aligned with the one in the back. So I don't want my piece to be over here and have all this piece hanging out over here. I want all pieces to be aligned from the front to the back, okay? If not, just fix it real quick. Now we're going to start joining, and I'm going to grab the first layer, second layer, third layer, and the fourth layer back here, and I'm going to sew them together. Okay, so I went from the front to the back. Now, because the yarn is right here in the back, we're going to go from the back to the front. So I'm going in the next stitch, and make sure you're grabbing the top loops of the single crochet. Okay, this is why we wanted the last row to be the wrong side with single crochet, because it's easier to find the stitches and sew them together. So the first layer back here, second layer, third layer, and the fourth layer back here in the front. Now again, going from the front to the back. First layer, second layer, third layer, fourth layer, and sew them together. Okay, so make sure you're sewing all the layers together, going from the front to the back, from the back to the front, from the front to the back. And make sure you're always grabbing those top two loops of the stitches when you're sewing together. Once I reach down here in the end, I'm going to turn my video to see how to close our project and how to turn the headband on the good side to make it look twisted. I have completed sewing from one side to the other. Now what I want you to do is, by holding the one corner, tighten up to make sure all the stitches close correctly together. And as it's tight, grab the yarn and work a few knots to make sure that it's secure. Okay, once you do your knots, go ahead and take the yarn and weave it in up here in the loops of the stitches that are on the wrong side here, on the side that we sewed the headband. Okay, so once you sew the one piece of yarn up here on the loops, go ahead and weave in the second tail over here as well. And once I do it, I'm going to turn my video back on to see how our headband looks completed. So we have completed sewing and weaving in our ends, and this is how the project looks like in the wrong side now that we are. So by folding it, this is the result that we have. Okay, it's not wrong, this is how it's supposed to be. Now go ahead and turn the inside out. Just turn the inside out, nothing else. And this is the result that we have, a beautiful twisted headband. Look how nice it looks, and it looks so nice with the raspberry stitch. And projects like this are super for us with curly hair, because, well, at least for me, I can't wear beanies for nothing. Just my hair gets so puffy, so it doesn't look really nice. So headbands that are so wide as this one, and what a great result, are very nice and warm for our heads. Okay, so you can substitute the beanie with this beautiful headband. So thanks for watching, please subscribe, and if you like the video, please press like and leave a comment. Thanks again, bye bye.